What's going on? What's going on? I'm Eugene Napoleon. This is Napoleon's Corner. Hope all is well. Before I get started, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would definitely appreciate your support. This is actually episode 204. 204. And this particular topic is one that I find quite interesting for many reasons. So it's a simple topic. And the topic is just talking. That's this particular episode, just talking. And that's just talking. That can cover many different topics with a lot to unpack. So the first piece I want to say in this particular episode of just talking. So when people are talking, please make sure you are paying attention. Make sure you are paying attention, that you are listening so you don't miss the message. So you don't miss the message. Pay attention. You can learn a lot of different things if you're just listening. You don't necessarily have to talk. You're just listening. So when I think about the ability to listen and hear, a lot of times there's a lot that comes to mind with that. So for instance, just because you are listening doesn't necessarily mean that you are hearing. Okay. What I mean by that is someone is talking and you're being respectful and you give them the overall impression that you're listening because you're looking at them, you're giving them eye contact. You might nod every now and again just to keep them engaged with the conversation, to let them know that you're somewhat listening. You haven't heard a word that they said to you. You haven't heard a word they said. So the respect thing to do is, yeah, you're acting like you're listening. Yep, yep, oh, Haven't heard a word. Haven't heard a word. So listening is not the same as hearing, right? But in this particular episode, just talking, to unpack a few little things, you might want to start listening and hearing at the same time. Listening and hearing at the same time. When you wrap those two things together, man, that's a powerful combination. That's a powerful combination because there's a lot that's going on that you have to listen to and you have to hear and you have to pay attention to make sure that you're not missing the message. And that can be from anything. As everybody knows, educational. I'm an education. I've been in education now for 27, going on 28 years, God willing, right? And the biggest misnomer in being in education is kids don't know nothing these days, right? You can't learn. You're the adult, so you can't learn from the youth or a child or whatever, right? Biggest mistake, biggest misnomer. Here's the reason why. I listen to my kids all the time. I listen and I hear them. And through that, you could disseminate, obviously what's good information. You can discern what's not good information. My point is, the kids are out there. We're of a certain age. I'm of a certain age. I'm not out there. I'm not in the streets like that. The kids are out there every single day. They're hearing, they're listening, they're paying attention. Unfortunately, sometimes they're paying attention, listening, and hearing to the wrong things. But here's my point. They are the ones out there on the front lines to all this stuff that's going on in the world. It's the youth, it's the young people, right? Once again, sometimes they're listening and they're hearing and they're paying attention to the wrong things. So here's where, I'm just talking, here's where, when you get that information because you're listening and you're hearing and you're paying attention to what they're talking about when they come to give this information to you as the adult, here's where we shift through that information. We figure out what's important. We disseminate what's important. We then sit down with them and we give them the real conversation. We give them the real talk. We let them know from the information we've heard from them what's valid and what's not valid, what's true and what's not true, what they need to take from the information they just brought to us, and what they need to drop. I'm just talking, just talking. So that brings me to another point of reference in this particular episode, where right now there's a lot of hate mongering. There's a lot of things being driven by hate, and hate is powerful. Let's be clear, hate is powerful. So when we're in this thing, the journey of life, and we're listening and we're hearing all of the stuff that's going on, right? We have to pay attention so we don't miss the overall message, because there's a lot of messages being shot out there, a lot of different directions, in a lot of different directions. The same thing I just said about listening to our youth when they bring us information, it's the same thing that I'm saying about listening and hearing and paying attention to the stuff that we hear on the news, social media outlets, whether you read it in a magazine, wherever you get the information from, you have to disseminate it, take it in, and look at it for yourself. Look at it for yourself and get the important information out of it and disregard the rest of that nonsense, especially if it's driven by hate. We get a chance to stomp that out because we're paying attention to it now. We're seeing it now. We're hearing it and we're listening for it now. We see it for what it's worth and you drop it right where it stands, because hate is powerful, but love is more powerful than hate. Us all with our own discernment and our ability to listen, hear, comprehend, and pay attention to what's real versus what's not real, for what is love versus what is not hate. Two of those things can't occupy the same space. It's almost like darkness and light. They can't occupy the same space at the same time. If you love something or someone and you hear something that's not, the discernment in your heart is not in your soul as well, because it's coming from a hateful place, you know to drop it because it's not coming to you out of love. Listen, I told you what this episode is. Just talking, right? The last piece I want to go over is one that a lot of people don't like to tackle, okay? And it's the functional depression and the lack of guidance that we're under when you are dealing with undue stress. I'll say it again. It's the functional depression that we are dealing with when you are under undue stress. And so what does that mean? Okay. There's a lot of people, a lot of youth running around here in their functional depressed. They can function even though they are dealing with so much depression, right? Here's where discernment once again creeps in to our heart, our spirit, and our soul, right? God blessed us with that. We all have it. Sometimes we don't, we don't use it as much, but we all have it. We have to listen, we have to pay attention, and we have to hear our loved ones who are dealing with functional distress and functional depression. You can see it all on somebody if you're paying attention to body language and what they say. We have to pay attention to that. And somewhere along the line, because we're listening, because we're hearing them, and because we're really paying attention, we have to check on them. We have to somehow try to get them some help. We have to somehow be the sounding board. We have to really, again, intently listen intently hear and intently help if we can, right? So it could be as simple as you hear somebody, you're talking to them, and you keep hearing these little cold words like, man, I'm just tired. I'm just so tired. And it's a different type of tired than fatigue tired. It's the type of tired that it resonates with, I'm really tired of everything. It's a different type of tired when they say it. And you can see it in their face, you can see it in their eyes, you can almost tell it in their body language. They're dealing with functional depression. They're functioning, but right in front of your face, right in front of your eyes, they're crying out for help. And we have to be acutely aware of hearing, listening, and paying attention to those cues. Sometimes they're not as easy as we think. But if you're around somebody all the time, you could pretty much pick up on some of that stuff. And it's a difficult conversation to have with people sometimes. But if you love them, we have to be on point with that, and we have to pay attention so we're not missing the message that they're actually giving us in real time. So this particular episode, like I said, just talking, but it was on my heart and mind to just go over just a few little things that that I've been thinking about and paying attention to over the last few days. So in closing, here's the question. What say you when individuals come in your space and they're not bringing the energy and the positivity that you need? Are you listening, hearing, and paying attention to what God has downloaded in your spirit? Because you can pick up on all of that. Pay attention so you won't miss the message. Take care. I'm Eugene Napoleon. I'll see you next week.